What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Bucs On Deck podcast episode. I'm Anthony Murphy. With me, as always, my good buddy, Nola Jeffy. What's going on, man?
Oh, my bad. I accidentally touched top of it. How's it going? Chilling.
Going good. When that intro went as good as your smoked salmon, I think.
Oh man, we could get into that. Of everything I did wrong, in my first smoke attempt.
Yeah, that's a whole episode on its own. But with this today, today we're going to be getting into. I mentioned it on Twitter. We're going to push back the episode a couple days so we can kind of cross paths and stuff like that with the draft, dig in a little bit more, and then we wanted to bring on a guest, one of our good friends. We nice little group chat going, talk baseball that time. Corey Schrader. Corey, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Not a whole lot. Thank you for delaying the time to accommodate me out here in a different. I'm living in the future for you guys on the West Coast, so appreciate the. Or am I in the? No, yeah, you're in the future.
You're in the past. Yeah, we're in the future. God. We'll let you know how things go.
Yeah, well, let me know how the draft goes when it starts because you'll be ahead of me.
Yeah,
but yeah, thanks for bringing me back to talk a little draft. Lovely
two times in 1 week.
2 times.
My God,
yeah, you're quite popular with the draft.
I am excited to talk about some of my guys. I've got a guy that you all know I've talked about in the group chat, so I'm excited to talk more about him when we get to that part. I want to be known as the guy for him.
The guy.
The standard bearer.
You're going to speak it into existence again, right? Like
I'm going to try.
And then the Pirates will turn him into a catcher.
A bullpen catcher.
So, obviously, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking the draft. Draft's coming up in a couple of days here. Before we get into the 2024 draft, I think maybe it's a good time to swing it back a year and go over at least the first part of the 2023 draft. Obviously, the Pirates had the first overall pick, and there was a lot of talk then because obviously there was when we enter in the year, it was like the Dylan Cruz draft kind of thing. You know, there's tank for Cruz going into the lottery, and he seemed pretty set as the guy. And then his teammate kind of at LSU kind of stole the show and rode the year straight into being the first overall pick. So now maybe not like a year later or obviously, you know, hindsight's 2020, but maybe just like reflecting back on it now, what's like your thoughts like a year later on the draft and the draft process and all that forward? Corey, we'll go and let you start.
So I am going to officially I will call it an L for myself in my evaluation last year. So leading up to the draft, as a general rule, my position is that you have that first selection. And if there's an elite, you know, graded hitter out there, you take that guy believing if your organization believes that player becomes the anchor of the franchise, you take that guy. And my doubt from the beginning was seeing Paul Skenes be able to do what he did to college hitters, to professional hitters in the minor leagues, not only in the minor leagues, but in the major leagues. I just didn't know that it would carry quite as well. Plus, you always have the risk with pitchers. It's inherently baked in. I don't think we need to talk about that. It's just part of the deal when you draft them. But I'm going to go ahead and say I will take the L on that to anyone that I engaged in that discussion with. If you want to spike the football, please, I don't mind. I'll take it. But I would also just want to say my caveat to all of this was that I never suggested that he was not good or would not be good. It was simply I had reservations about it. And then he has proved anyone that had criticized him for any possible fastball shape or questions of ability to carry over his dominance pretty roundly. I would say, I don't even know if this is a hot take, but I think he's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball right now. certainly young pitcher. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's really good. I would call him probably arguably the best pitcher in baseball right now. So, whereas Cruz, the profile looks a lot different. He is actually kind of pulling what I would have not expected from him. It does look a lot different in general. Like struggled. He's playing a little bit better in AAA. I haven't checked for a week or so, but I know he has made it to AAA, and he does look more of what we expected. But it doesn't look like the slam dunk really anymore. I don't think. I think he's going to be a major league player, and probably a pretty good one. But I think Langford has definitely separated himself a little bit more, and he's turning it on at the major league level right now, I think. So either way, we won't know for certain for a number of years still, but Paul Skenes is definitely showed out. And you know what, like I said, on our pre-show discussion, I will happily call myself wrong and a loser on this one, because he's still on the Pirates and he's still really good. So I'd call that a win-win for a loss, if that's what I'm going to call it for myself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nola, how about you?
I guess I'll take a lowercase L. Because I know, like earlier in the college season when I was watching him, I was definitely I was a person that was like, dude, this guy looks phenomenal. Like he just looks different. And what worried me were things of how well the command was going to translate to the majors. Every fifth day, his velo holding up. And I mean, I think it was like his second minor league start this year. I was like, no, he's good. It's great. Which also, talk about command, I think it's kind of funny. I don't know if you both listened into the discussion NS9 Highway Saris prior to recording this. It's funny, he was actually talking about command as a general thing with pitchers, and essentially what he was just saying is, on average, they've been doing studies with pro games and labs and everything, that on average, like, pitchers miss their spots, like all pitchers miss their spots by 10 to 13 inches. So command could come and go, but it was just like right from the get-go, it was like, okay, the command is there, and that kind of alleviated any concerns I had. Because, I, too, probably middle of last season is when I really started diving into fastball shape metrics and stuff. And his metrics showed up as and technically still do as what's to the T a dead zone fastball. But he also has the velocity and command to overcome such a thing. Plus the sequencing, the tunneling, like he's a whole package. So yeah. I will also say that, Skenes is probably becoming I don't necessarily want to say a project more than expected. Langford is obviously
Cruz. You mean it was a project? Did you?
Yeah,
Cruz. Yeah.
Cruz. Cruz, and then shifted over to Langford for a second. But that Langford's getting hot after starting slow. The injury, he's getting hot, and he's looking like he's going to be good to go. Cruz is probably going to be a little more of a project, which I was also thinking earlier today about. Cruz is probably in the right organization because, you look at, Abrams wasn't exactly a slam dunk at first, and now he's taken off. James Wood doing what he's doing. So I think it's there for Cruz. And part of me, I think knowing what we know now in terms of the organizational development, it probably was the right decision in that regard. Because I don't know if Cruz had issues, would the Pirates have been able to tweak him? But part of me is still like I don't want to say regret not getting a hitter, but because at the same time, it's like, what do they have still? Like there's a big need at the major league level still, and even the upper minors. And then just as a general overlook of last year's draft, obviously the number 2 pick, Jeb's picking it up lately. Meath, I think, crossed, was it 40 innings today in the FCL? I mean, and then just some of the other arms that got, like Riley, Curtis, I mean, McAdoo, the hitter, playing third base, and Altuve already. I mean, as of right now, I mean, the lanyap behind Skenes is, I mean, you got Skenes. So the draft is a slam dunk almost with that.
Yeah.
Pick, and then
it's an A+ just based on pick 1.
Right. And it's looking like Reed probably needs to move up. Cousin needs to move up to Greensboro. But so far, I mean, it's looking pretty good.
Yep. Yeah. Very, very fun group for we came. I think the most confounding pick to me was still this Mitch Jeb. Kind of came out of a little bit out of nowhere. And while he's just not a profile that I think looks like a more than kind of like a utility to like a second tier starter. Do you know what I mean? Like a second division team starter somewhere.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't mean he can't be a useful player to a good team. And maybe by the time he cracks a Pittsburgh lineup, he fits just how they need him to, and he's a good, useful piece. But that was, at the time, that was like we got a pitcher, and then we took a guy that doesn't really have an exciting profile with our second pick. But it doesn't, like you said, now it doesn't really matter too much. I don't think no one else could really ever crack the major league lineup, and it would be a good draft, I think, at this point, to be honest. But yeah, there's some exciting guys in there. Some like Meath is going to be, he's one of my favorite guys in general. He's very fun to watch. So it'll be exciting to follow him for sure. So, and of course, Garrett Forrester, my guy, who is
catcher Garrett Forrester.
An occasional third base, right? He plays
now and again.
third and catcher.
And that's why people need to listen to who your guys are this year.
Yeah, see where we can put them other than the position they're listed at.
Yeah, that's fun. It's like a mystery. It's like a puzzle you got to solve. Where will this guy play that he's never played before in his life? But the Pirates will try to make it work there
and see if it works. That's the only way you'll ever find out. So I respect, honestly.
Yeah. One quick look back on what you guys saying. I think the thing for me, like, what kind of, I don't want to say ruined the whole Paul Skenes thing, thinking about it, but like the thing that kind of gave me second thoughts with it too is like, we like joke about it and everything like that, but going into the season, it was like Chase Dolander they were talking about, it's going to be like the next Strasburg. And that, we joke about it now and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, he came out the gate and he struggled and stuff like that. And then Skenes kind of took off, and then they're like, oh, wow, this is the best prospect we've seen since Strasburg. And then I'm kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, well, I mean, you can't say that twice about the same, like two different people in the same draft class. That doesn't seem right. So maybe then I kind of pushed it aside. And then I think most times if it's close, I think it's right to take the guy who's going to make the impact on an everyday basis. So like if it was still like very close, then I still think like maybe Dylan Cruz would have been the right pick. But as we're seeing now, and as maybe reflecting back on it now, like with more of like a open mind and stuff like that, like it actually wasn't even that close. I think it was just like Skenes was the guy, and he always should have been the guy. But the mindset that I think most fans and most people took into it that were still saying Dylan Cruz, I think was right. I just think that maybe some didn't. Okay, well this guy is truly special, and they're not just tossing this stuff out there after hearing them say it about like Dolander, which like he's starting to pitch. He's starting to kind of get back to form and like that too. Yeah. But like you start trying, it's like Boy Who Cried Wolf. Like you start throwing out like Strasburg comps like left and right, then like all of a sudden it loses meaning and stuff like that.
If they're all Strasburg, none of them are.
None of them. Yeah.
I'll say because wasn't it like 2 months into this year's college season, it was like Brody Brecht Burns and Hagen Smith, they were like, oh, these guys are like just like Strasburg almost.
Or like Burns is putting up the same number, and they're comparing him to like Paul Skenes and stuff like that. I'm like, well,
right,
here we are again, and see, look,
yeah,
like we're right back where we were last year,
right.
So, but yeah, I was like everyone's kind of like openly taking their L's for it, but I was very adamant about that. I kind of felt like Cruz should have been the guy, maybe, and he still seems like he's going to be a decent player. He kind of seems like more of a high floor kind of player there, maybe with like you just know he's going to be a very solid guy for a long time. Maybe not with like the upside that we once thought he had, but I still think he's going to be a very solid player. But in the end, it was Skenes. It always should have been Skenes, and it always was going to be Skenes. It seems like.
Yep. Ben Cherington masterclass, absolute masterclass.
Aside from the fact that he's going to lose that extra half year of control and not get a PPI pick out of it.
That'll be fine.
Jared Jones.
Can't win them all.
No, we can't. You lose even when you try to win.
Yeah.
But all right, so that was 2023. Now looking ahead this year. Pirates had the 9th overall pick. This draft has been challenging to say the least when it comes to trying to guess what could happen, who could be there. I think like the times that Nola and I have talked about it on here, we've mentioned no less than like 3 teams that are notoriously famous for throwing giant wrenches into like the draft, picking ahead of them. So you feel like almost anything can happen, which is kind of means we've had to cast a wider net on players. I guess before we get into like specific players, is there any kind of, with knowing that there could be so many possible outcomes, is there a certain strategy that you enter here, or do you feel like you have to have multiple things in line heading into this because of the so many different directions it can go?
I think this class has been talked about a lot in terms of being weak overall. I think on the Baseball America roundtable yesterday, maybe, I believe that one of them, Keith Law, maybe referred to it as a horseshit draft. I think was like the exact phrasing he used. But at the same time, especially in the first, like with the first 3 selections at least that the Pirates are going to make in that range, I feel like there's they're going to get 3 pretty good prospects there, I would imagine, pretty good players. So you got to look at the criticisms of this class from the people who are the most intimate with it, I think, and then try to consider what type of strategy is viable from there, and also thinking about how the Pirates operate in general. And I think I find myself wanting to avoid the prep player at 9, just the hitter. I don't think there's any prep pitchers that could realistically go. Anything could happen, but I don't.
One potentially.
Is Caminiti the one that you're thinking of? Yeah. I mean, he could, but I'm just, and part of me would say I would rather have them take the prep pitcher over one of the hitters just for simple development organizational traits.
I'll be touching on that here in a second.
Okay, so but yeah, I think you need to, and I'm sure they've. I don't know what they're going to do. Ultimately, no one does. But I think the way where the Pirates pick in particular lines up is going to be the best selection for this organization, in my opinion, will be a college hitter at 9. And then you kind of have to project from there onto how they are going to approach with the rest of the class being a little thinner with prep talent. You probably want to get one at 37 to allocate more funds to, I think. or 47. I mean, you don't know simply it's going to be very strange. The flow of the draft. That's what I would anticipate happening. I don't know, but that's the way I could see them approach it. And it would make a lot of sense to me to do that.
Yeah. And that's, I think, like you were saying with that roundtable they did on BA, I mean, all of them were remarking about how they feel pretty good about their 1 through 10. And then everything from 11 to 30, 40 is just, a personal preference shit show.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like you just said, that there's at least 3 teams picking ahead of Pittsburgh that you have no clue which way they could go. Like Colorado, Anaheim, and maybe Oakland. I see Oakland in a really slam dunk position at 4, though. Like if they get somebody to fall out of that top, the main 3, they're going. I believe they will take them. One of a Bazana, Condon, or Weatherholt. So they're in a really good spot. Should someone in front of them do something off the radar, more or less, which they could. You never know. But those teams ahead of them are. Well, Colorado's ahead of them. So, who knows? Chase Burns or Hagen Smith could go there, I think. So that would really be weird for what happened next, probably. So,
yeah. And then what do you got, Murph?
I was gonna say, like, I'd throw the Royals in there too as a team that, like, historically every now and again just kind of come out of nowhere, out of left field with the pick too.
Yeah.
So, but I know, Nola, you're saying too that I noticed you, like, in a comment on the site, talking about like how you feel like the Rockies kind of seems one of the more set pieces in your mind.
Yeah, to me, that's what I was gonna kind of say is that to me, I feel like Hagen Smith or Burns are going to Colorado. Like, and I don't know, my gut kind of feels like it's going to be Burns. And you see it a lot too with the mock drafts, even with the Pirates, you got Longenhagen saying he's hearing a lot of Kurtz to the Pirates, but then Baseball America is like, we haven't heard much. We've heard Montgomery and the prep kids, but I haven't heard much on Kurtz. So like through the top 10 picks, it sounds like everyone's casting wide nets. And that's why the other thing I was touching on too, like in that same comment threads, is part of me, because I know everyone sees the Angels and they're like, oh, they're going to draft a quick to the majors guy. But part of me feels like they're going to reverse course because of how everything's gone for them the past couple of years. I mean, sure, you might want to get someone up there to pair with Ohapi, Nito, and Shanwell, but at the same time, they've been fast tracking everything and it hasn't gone well. And then the White Sox are just probably a good chance they're going to completely blow everything up by this deadline. So are they really going to want high-end, quick to the majors type as well? So,
which hasn't worked out that well for them recently either.
No. So part of me feels like I could see them both going prep with their first pick, whether it be Caminiti, Griffin, or Rayner.
Gillen.
No, because we want him to last to 9, right?
Yeah, although I would say with Anaheim, I could see Savage go there.
Yeah.
That could be a really plausible landing spot. And that's, again, things get weird for Pittsburgh because of all these things, which could be beneficial. What I'm saying is somebody who we didn't think would even be there could be there. So it's hard to come on here and say, yeah, this looks like the guy, like that everyone is mocking the same guy. You know what I mean? Like, when nobody seems to have a good feel beyond even the top pick. I've seen tons of debate between Weatherholt, Bazana, and Condon, even like today. But in previous years, I feel like Skenes was kind of the guy a couple of days before. I felt like it seemed clear.
It seemed like it was trending that way. I think even didn't wasn't like Greg Brown like dropping hints or something that people thought were like dropping hints on the broadcast too, or like he talked about him like constantly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it was even like Baseball America. Like they even tossed out the idea of like maybe someone like Connor Griffin going at 1-1 to the Indians and just like completely throwing stuff in the blender at that point and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really hard to gauge. I think what we're thinking there's 3, maybe 4 guys, and then at least one of the pitchers that we know for sure that we could probably safely say aren't making it. Like there's probably no scenarios where they make it to 9. Like,
I would say
don't
there's
see.
0 scenarios where Weatherholt, Bazana, Condon at least, and maybe Burns. I don't think Smith
I would say
does.
maybe. I would say Weatherholt might have like a 2% chance.
You think he's got the?
Yeah, I think of those, and I would say Caglianone's probably the other guy too. That I think someone's just. And the part of the thinking too is like I think about it too. Like part of me thinks with him, like the same line of thought with like Bubba Chandler, that like if you have him hang up one of the you have him stop pitching and focus only on hitting, maybe some of that the chasing drops because the focus is on just hitting, and maybe a team takes that mindset into it and be like, okay, well we're only going to make you hit. You can only focus on that. Maybe that would help the chase rate. And plus, the dude has like 80 grade raw power, which no one else can touch that in this draft class. And there's a lot more risk in his profile, but I think someone before the Pirates are going to buy into that 80 grade and the fact that like we're only going to throw you out here as a hitter. And I think someone tossed out the ideas like with his arm and stuff like that. Hey, let's give you a shot in right field too. Just in the lower level, see how it looks. If it doesn't look good, then we'll throw you back at first base and just kind of let you mash at that point. So.
Well, I think that's one of the things that could also throw a wrench into it is the fact that it is such like a defensively limited top of the draft. And that's one of the things why they've been calling it like a weaker draft. Like, I mean, you look forward to like next year. I mean, you already got Cam Canarella, Jace Laviolette. Like, there's 2 bing, bang, boom,
Holiday,
center fielders.
Younger, right?
Yeah.
I think if so, like with like speaking about the positions thing like that, if JJ Weatherholt is a no doubt shortstop, like do you think this is just like everything's just solved and he's like the unquestioned 1-1 guy at that point?
I think he could be. If whoever Guardians believe he sticks it short, they might just say, "Yep, that's it." Condon makes sense too, though. Didn't Condon play all over the field in this year too?
Yeah, he played like third base too.
Third base, yeah.
I think he even played like a couple games in center. So, like no one thinks that like he's going to do that like too deep into pro ball, but he has at least shown that. Some of the plays he was making out there in left field, like it looked okay. Out there.
Just general athlete factors probably a little higher. I kind of feel, and I forget, a couple of folks were. This may have also been a BA mention or prep, maybe. What's that called? The prep, the one that he was on the podcast roundtable. Shooter, I forget his last name, but anyway, I think that Guardians struggle with the kind of profile that Condon brings, that kind of power. They don't not that they struggle with it; they just don't have a lot of it. They're traditionally, kind of more of the hit first kind of guys. You look at target everybody's favorite breakout CJ Kafis, who came it's very very much the hit overpower kind of guy, and a lot of their minors is like that. So Condon brings something they don't have. Weatherholt also can do that, but it's not like Condon's got a little bigger boy power than Weatherholt. But
I know Fangraphs had mentioned too that Cleveland's usually an organization that'll put a lot of weight in like a previous year, like a sophomore, like Weatherholt's sophomore year, as opposed to, hey, he got hurt and blah, 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 junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a super fun first round either way.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be weird, and I like that.
Yeah, that's right. So looking at the pick for the Pirates there, like we said, kind of hard to predict too heavily about who might be available there. but kind of getting a feel over maybe some of the team's histories of over the guys that we kind of assume are going to be unavailable. Who are some of the guys that we feel like there's a strong chance to be there for them, and like maybe who you guys would like prefer at that point?
Nola, do you want to go first?
Let's see. Sorry, I was trying to shoot a message over real quick to someone being loud. Well, the thing with the history is, and I know I've seen a lot of mentions of it too, is now the fact that Horowitz is in the system, in the front office, and he's known for liking bats. I think he was behind Marcelo Meyer, Micah Romero, they had mentioned. So that right there gives a lot of probably a lot behind the whole prep talk. Dude, it's so tough because even that pipeline came up before we did this tonight, and they were throwing, what was it, like Christian Moore? They threw, was it Bench in there?
Yeah,
Carson Bench.
You know, I saw a mock to them because I threw it. I think it was, I can't remember if it was a Ponce or Collazo tweet where I was like, hot take. I want to say it was back like June something. I was like, hot take. Christian Moore's going to hit his way to the Angels. Christian Moore's going to Pittsburgh.
You're calling it.
That's my hot take.
I mean, the more I've read about him, the more I've watched. And like, you know, I watched the College World Series game where he hit for the cycle, like, and then I read something too, like, okay, well, like some people saying, okay, well, you could probably throw him in left field and he'll probably be just fine, kind of thing, like passable kind of thing. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that gives you a little more value than second base, and I know there'll be the grumblings if they take a second baseman, especially with Nick Gonzalez starting to play well and stuff like that. But if you could flip him out to left field, like he's someone that I mentioned too in the article I wrote the other day. He's someone that's kind of been growing on me lately. It's like, I don't know if I still want to fully commit to it. Like, I feel like they would have to have something really big planned at like 37 at that point, which I guess they could.
Well, and I think that's going to be kind of my thinking is I think they're going to, unless I don't know. It's hard to say. Unless somehow Burns, Weatherholt, or even Montgomery fall, I think there's probably a good chance they go for something that's like a mil, half a K, or not half a K, mil, half a mil savings to splurge.
Christian Moore would be very fun there. I think he is also like just a cool profile. Like he's obviously got like, he is very confident in his abilities, and like you can tell that he thinks he might be the best player on the field, every field he steps on. He's just like kind of got that dog in him when it comes to like being a guy. From what I've been looking at him a little bit more lately because he has been like kind of flying up, getting mentioned a lot higher than I had seen even a couple weeks ago, probably. What I do know about him with regards to like performance markers that I would kind of look for is that he did exceptionally well against breaking balls in college, like did a ton of damage against them, and also handled the higher velocities pretty darn well too. So that's always a good thing to see. I mean, he also played in the toughest team the toughest division in college baseball in general. So it's good to get performers from the SEC. I do know, and I don't know park factors much for college outside of, some smaller schools, like when Nick Gonzalez was coming out, like New Mexico, like College Coors or whatever they call that field. But isn't Rocky Top kind of a hitter's haven too? Tennessee's kind of
hearing something that
I think so, but I don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can put a lot into that. I would be happy with that. I think when we were talking earlier in the week, maybe earlier today, I can't see a player that I would kind of like be upset with that they could take there. It would have to be pretty wild, like way off the board. There's so many options that I can see working for them. Christian Moore would be a lot of fun. One that I keep coming back to, just like seeing it be the fit that really kind of makes a lot of sense is Nick Kurtz. That being said, I could see a world that he goes ahead of them also. I know he's got some injury history where, like, not bad injuries, but like he was dinged up a lot. I think he never really performed with wood bats either. Like at all that I know of, at least like in any significant sample. And obviously drafting a first base only guy, they have to mash the ball for them to really be worth it. But like, look at him. He's like a mutant. He's gigantic. He has a great approach. He has a good enough hit tool. He's got probably like plus power. I don't know that he's like got crazy power, but he does a lot of damage also. He's got some shortcomings because of the position stuff, but he could end up being the pick. I wouldn't say drafting for need is dumb, but he kind of fills two. He's a good prospect at 9. There's drafts. He was talking like 1-1 for a while in the preseason. I would be happy with that. I get the feeling that he is, as long as he's on the board, it's going to be hard for them to not take him unless, like you were saying, like maybe they knock some money off and take more or something like that. Somebody in that range. I kind of have a feeling that he's destined to be drafted by the Pirates because it's a position that's haunted them for so long too. And it's just where he should probably fall in just based on a lot of mocks. But again, he could go 3rd to Colorado. Who knows? Truly, they could love him, and all it takes is one team ahead of you to that be your guy, and not on the board.
I'm kind of at the point where I don't think he should, like, going on with Kurt. I don't like the first base only guys and like that early and stuff like that. But then also too, I kind of, like you said, I kind of just feel like that's going to be the Pirates pick. So solely because, like, I mean, this isn't the right way of looking at it, but like you look at like the draft history with the guys with their first round pick when they do take hitters, they worry about the bat. They want a guy that can hit. They're willing to put defense a distant second. You know, like Nick Gonzalez is a second base only hitter guy, but you know his bat's going to carry him. Henry Davis, there's already questions about whether or not he'd stick behind the plate if where they would move him if he couldn't catch, but that's fine because he's going to hit. He's going to hit for a bunch of home runs and stuff like that. Tamar Johnson, same thing. Basically, he's got to hit. So, like, if Kurtz is there and they feel strongly about him, I kind of feel like that will probably end up being the pick. I like Nola and I were pretty big into Braden Montgomery, or he kind of sold me into that like pretty quickly on the bandwagon with him, and like maybe the injury drops him and stuff like that.
Let me ask you guys, since we've said who we think it will be, and you made the bold prediction already there with Christian Moore, but let me ask you, let's say you get to make the pick. You're making the pick, and we'll take out the big top three guys. Who is your dream other than those 3 who I just don't think are going to make it? Who is your dream guy to take there, and how fast do you pull the trigger on whoever this guy is?
Well, 3, 4, or 5.
Pardon?
Well, who's the dream 3? Because I mean,
I would take out Bazana, Condon, Weatherholt. If you could have one of anyone else fall to that spot, who are you taking?
It'd probably be between Montgomery, Smith, or Burns then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably go there with some, and also at that point, if those are the three that you're telling me that absolutely will not be there, I think I would probably consider Caglione at that point too, just because of the Rothhauer stuff. Yeah, I would probably consider, but like ideally, like give me Montgomery because that's probably a lot safer of a pick. Who even like if he ends up on like the safer side of his upside, still is going to turn into like a really good defender out there in right field and a guy who's
hit I think he's probably got a few less. I think he's got a little bit of a hit question from some people too still. Yeah. But I think I would say those same three, Montgomery, Burns, or Smith. I would almost be tempted to take Burns if you could tell me he's there. And then get real nutty and hope to win every game 2-0 or like 2-1.
Well, and at that point,
they did today when we recorded. So.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to go with an 8-man rotation, at that point you're going to have to start trading pitchers.
But Montgomery would be my preferred bat of the rest of the group, probably still. Jack scares me a little bit. He'd be super fun and it'd be cool, but he's a little scary. Montgomery or one of the two big pitchers would probably. I agree on that completely.
Montgomery's I feel like he's the closest. He's the best combination of safe and with upside, kind of like the remaining group there.
Yeah, and a comment I made to Nick Camuso on one of his tweets today too is everyone's saying that we've struggled so much with developing first baseman. They need to just draft the first baseman. I'm like, well, the fact they haven't been able to develop a first baseman is more a product of they haven't been able to develop hitters, period. Because if they could develop hitters, then it's like, oh, McAdoo's ready. We have nowhere to put you. Go to first base.
Yeah,
know? Like, worst case scenario, I mean, Montgomery ends up at first base. Caglione goes to first base. It's if they were developing hitters, I mean, I think me and Murphy were talking the other day, which will make it kind of interesting next year. Obviously, none of them are going to be fast movers likely, but come next year, they're going to have a lot of first base profile guys, like at least in Greensboro. Like unless they take huge strides defensively, I mean, Eddie Rodriguez, Valdez, whoever's not playing between Plaz and Alfonso. I mean, there's a handful of other guys. Like, there's going to be a lot of first base profile guys already in the low minors.
If you like piggybacking off what you said, if you can develop hitters properly, first base just kind of solves itself because you just slap someone there and it's okay. That's fine. Give him first base club, have him go out there.
Michael Bush wasn't a first baseman.
Yeah.
Yep. Not until he got dealt.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Samilla will still be in Greensboro next year, so
who knows? They might send him down a level at this point.
Poor guy.
Just stuck there. All right. So, anyone else have anything they kind of wanted to pitch in when it comes to like 1-9?
It just it's tricky because it's going to be so like you said, it's such a wide net. The board is big when you get down there. And I think Savage would be cool there too. They have Savage. I think they're going to really get a good, fun player no matter what at that. I truly don't know how they could disappoint me with this pick. So I'm tempting fate by saying that, but there's a lot of good options there. Theo Gillen would be a shocker, sort of, but it wouldn't. I would be very happy with that. I think he's got a chance to be as good as Griffin and Rainier or Rainier. I don't know how you say it. There's my Pacific Northwest bias calling him Rainier. I think it's Rainier though. But I think Gillen could be as good as them. Different kind of player, but I would also be happy with them taking a guy like that who has shot up a lot of the mocks I've seen in just the last couple of days. He went from kind of like where the Rays are, which is like back way in the back almost, right? Like 20 something, 23, something like that.
Mid-20s.
Yeah, and I saw him as high as like 15 or 16 just today somewhere. So
And was it
that would be fun.
Fangraphs has him as the top prep guy right now.
They do? Yeah, see? I mean, it's a weird class, and that's kind of a good – I think it's kind of cool. And I know we're going to talk about some guys that we like a little deeper here that aren't going to be first-round types. I don't think any of the ones we're going to talk about could sneak in there, but maybe comp. Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I think one of my guys probably comp. Maybe a little too much helium, and he might be just past that. But one last thing on my end. I alluded to it, and we talked about Cam and Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
He has such a fun, raw pitch set. Like 4 pitches, the fastball looks explosive already. Has such a great frame. Like in my head the other night, I was sitting there, and a lot of times, like I'll just before I lay down, I pull up YouTube on my phone and I'll go through and watch some videos of some players and stuff like that. And watching him pitch and like his age and the stuff he already has, like I'm just sitting here and thinking, there's like with what the Pirates have been able to do with pitchers in their system, could you imagine throwing someone with that kind of raw tool set who's already flashing some really good stuff, put him in a Pirates system and just imagine what kind of work they can do with him. And like, I don't know if the thought of that is exciting enough to go with him at 1.9, but man, getting an arm like that into the system would be so incredibly fun that it's almost worth it to at least have a conversation about it. I feel like.
Well, that's one thing that we know for a fact right now that the Pittsburgh Pirates organization can do is develop some pitching.
Yeah.
It would be, I think that would be a lot of fun to get into the system. I mean, it's possible. They could do it if they fell in love with him. You never know. I agree. That would be very tempting to me. Especially because you think like if maybe just looking at the Pirates, like let's taking him over Savage even because like the rotations are kind of full, right? Like they don't need a guy that's going to move that fast. They could take their time with a kid like that. I could see it, honestly. I could see it being.
And that's where I guess the question becomes: would you use what they've become strong at your advantage at 1.9, or kind of use it as they've been using it where, Harrington second round, Jones second round, Bubba third round, which, I mean, you could get another Bubba where, you get one of the guys to fall a little bit and get him a little later.
I think I would use that approach personally.
Yeah, I would use that approach too on it, obviously, because it's proven to work so far. But also, too, just what he's shown already at his stage, at his age. And he's a guy who reclassified, like going into, like he was a 2025 guy, reclassified for this year. And like, even now, they're he's a guy that could, if all things like just break loose, find his way into the top 10 or like he's still going to be in like the top half of the first round, probably.
Yeah.
So just a late night thought I had too, because everyone already knows me as the prep pitcher guy. So I figured I'd just add to that a little bit.
Add more prep pitchers.
Yeah, what can go wrong? It would make me happy. But so like for the last part of it, we were talking about it. We've all gone around and kind of just dug into the draft in general and stuff like that. So we wanted to go just around the table pretty much and kind of just go through some players that as we've kind of dug in that we've kind of started to notice and that we're kind of watching and I don't know what your guys' approach to it was. I don't know if you guys were trying to match up like maybe this is what the Pirates have a history of doing, so I'm looking for these kind of guys, or if it's just kind of nope, I see him like this is just someone that personally that I want to go through. But we're each going to go around and give 3 guys, and and just kind of break down what we like about them and stuff like that. And I guess, Corey, if you want to go and kick us off here with your first player.
Yeah, I can do that. So I've got three. I went with three hitters, two college players, probably second day guys, I would say, for both of these. Probably even like mid round for at least probably two of them. And then I went with a prep who would probably need to be shown the money, so to speak. So I'll start with the prep guy. Actually, because I think he would probably need to be selected earlier, potentially day one, like pick 37 or 47, maybe, just because he does have a college commitment to Virginia. But that player is Aiden Harris out of PDG Academy in Virginia. So he's got a UVA commit, and the things that I like about him are, number one, he is one of the youngest players, maybe the youngest player in the entire draft. He's just 17, and he's already a very big kid. 6'4", 222 was the listing I found for him. And he's I've seen him graded with a 60 raw and power, with the very good likelihood of developing at least 70 raw, is what a couple of sources I found on him said. He is already, based on, I've seen a little bit of video on him and the things I've read, but he's already got like a pretty high degree of physicality. So he's probably he plays third right now, but if he gets a lot bigger, I don't know that he would, stick there. I'm not comparing him to Jordan Walker, but I feel like it could be that kind of where he does have to move off of the position, not giving him a Jordan Walker comp, but he was a big time draft combine performer, which is where I first really started to look at him. I saw a write up on him, and then I went and did a little more digging on him. But the numbers at the combine were what kind of drove it home for me that, yeah, this is a guy, given the age, size, big time raw power, that I think is someone that the Pirates would be wise to try to get into the system, if possible. The numbers that popped for me was that he had like the second or tied for first, I guess, with the highest average exit velocities during the batting practices, with another big time prep, PJ Morlando. They're the only two players at the whole combine that hit 106 average exit velocity for this batting practice, which is like, for a 17-year-old, that's a pretty big number. But that would be a guy that I would assume that he would probably need to be pulled. Like, you'd have to pull the trigger on him at 47 at the latest, just to pay him enough probably to get him out of that commitment. Yeah, I feel like you might need to go there. I don't think he's ranked terribly high. I didn't look at MLB's ranking on him. I don't even know if he's in their top 250. He might be in the back end. Like, I want to say
VA, he's Baseball America, he's 185. Future Series Sports, I think it is 200.
200. Okay, so that might be a little stretch, but he's the type of talent that I would put a big old sticky note on in the tab, put it so I know where he is, and I would be willing to pay him to forego his scholarship to get him into the system. The age and the power at that age is something that I would really, really look for to get into the system. But that's my first of my three.
It's only UVA, so
watch it there. Well, he's a local kid for me, so that's a plus for me. He's a UVA commit, which is another plus for me. And when I was doing my research on him, real quick, in a showcase game, he had a batted ball of 111 miles an hour off the bat.
There you go. That's impressive.
Yeah. So I like that. We were talking about that before then. I like the Aiden Harris pick. Nola, how about you? Who's your first guy?
Well, I'll go with the guy on my three who has the highest aggregate ranking. Between FSS, ESPN, MLB, and Baseball America, he's average rankings around like 80. So he's probably a third rounder. pick. But Cal Steven out of Mississippi State. The short report is that when I was watching him pitch, he reminded me. It might have just been the blonde hair, but he reminded me of Braxton Ashcraft with a better fastball, essentially. He's a 6'4", 225 kid. He pitched 2 years at Purdue before transferring to Mississippi State. And as we know, Pirates love wood bat guys. In 2 years of wood bat, he threw 53 innings with a 2.38 ERA, 15 walks, and 63 Ks. His junior year at Mississippi, he threw 96 innings with a 3.28 ERA, 21 walks, and 107 Ks. The fastball, it's generally 91, 95, gets it up to 96, again with above right and carry. A mid-80s slider, change, and an occasional curve, but he's got that projectable frame and body that I think they would love. And again, like the fastball with the above average carry and everything, he just feels like a perfect arm to get into this system.
So for my first name, I went the prep pitcher route. What? But so like my thought is with like the article that I did on the pitchers, is like I tried to look for guys who kind of made sense with what the Pirates have done historically, at least under Channington. Whether that's lower arm slot, fastballs that carry up in the zone. Maybe like some control issues that they feel like they can tighten up, or maybe they're not afraid to go after injured guys. But he's a left-handed pitcher out of Montgomery, Texas. He's committed to Texas, and it's Bryce Navarre. On Future Star Series, he's ranked 208. I think that's like the highest one that I've seen for him so far. 6'1", 190. Maybe there's a little bit of added projection there. Doesn't throw overly hard. He's about tops out about like 92, 93 right now. Sits upper 80s, low 90s. But the ball has a lot of carry to it. They said that he might have one of the best breaking balls in the prep class this year. He has a sweeper that's already getting like 20 inches of horizontal sweep to it. Throws a curveball with it too. Hey, from like I was able to watch a couple of his games. They had some stuff on YouTube with them and stuff like that. Kind of gave me a Michael Kennedy, if Michael Kennedy threw like a second breaking ball kind of vibe. Kennedy's just like the fastball, sweeper, changeup. So like it's Michael Kennedy. The breaking ball is tunneled real well off the fastball. The fastball plays up in the zone, even though it doesn't have like your traditional velocity. A little bit of a lower arm slot with it, and the curveball said it could get up to like 3,200 RPMs of spin for it. So just he spins the ball really good, and which really helps like the fastball play good. And I like my left-handed pitchers, and he's a prep left-handed pitcher with that kind of good stuff. So really guy that I started grabbing to, not incredibly high ranked. So you could probably get him maybe a couple of rounds in if you wanted to go like maybe like college hitting heavy kind of thing, and then maybe you could circle back to him after a while. Probably going from Texas, being a Texas and committed to Texas, probably still have to throw a little bit of extra cash to him as well. But if you're going like college back heavy early, you can probably save or go right near slot with most of them, and then go over on him whenever you do decide to pick him.
He sounds very interesting. I'll have to go look for some of that. I haven't watched any of him, but I love hearing those guys with the crazy spin.
You can really spin the ball.
Yeah, you add some velocity to that kid at some point, even a little bit, and you can start getting some like crazy pitch shapes out of that kind of guy. So that's a fun one. Yep. All right, I guess it's back to me, huh?
Yep.
So this next one, I'm going. So this is one of my college players, and he's an outfielder. So his name is Miles Smith out of UC Irvine. I think he's a day 2, so you could get him a little later. I really had a hard time finding a lot of footage on him. I looked around, I saw a little bit. Mostly it was like perfect game stuff, and it was like batting practice, some throws from the outfield, nothing too crazy. I didn't get it. There was a little bit of game footage from the playoffs or the end of the season where he jacked a couple of dingers in one of the tournament games. And you got to see some of his pull power, which is anyway. So he's 6'1", 205, very likely to stick in center field. It looks like he's got based on his line for this year, he hit 401 with a 533 on base and a 1.100 OPS, 10 homers, 50 walks to 30 Ks. And he chipped in some steals too, so he's got some speed. I think it was 10 or 15. I didn't record that one because the speed is pretty much present anywhere I found any write-ups on him. One of the other things that makes me really excited about him is that the footage I did see of when he got to his power, it's like pretty clear pull side, like legitimate get to it in the game power. Some of the scouting write-ups did note that he's got a little trouble with the outer half in driving it. So he's probably going to need to work on that significantly once he gets into the system. But he also had a couple of markers that really stand out to me that make me think that he probably is capable of making adjustments. He ran a 93% zone contact, and he had a sub 15% chase. So he's like very tooled up, and he's a guy that isn't even in BA's top 500. You could probably get him fairly late. And he looks like a legitimate possible 5 tool that are at least like average, like potential, some with the potential to be above. He's really exciting to me. I've literally had a hard time finding a lot of information on him. And I think some of that's just by virtue of playing at Irvine as part of it, but he looks exciting. And I think he would be a pretty, I don't want to say easy get, but I think he's there. Like pretty late if you want to go for a guy like that. He's a little older. I mean, he's 22. So he could definitely be a guy, that could fly through the minors if he does click, if it's really all there. So he's one I'm excited to follow where he goes. Even if he doesn't go to Pittsburgh, I would love to see the Pirates take a guy like that. But Miles Smith out of UC Irvine is my second one.
All right. Well, Mike, what?
Definitely need the outfield, some outfield depth.
Yeah. Well, I'm going shortstop with my next one. Prep shortstop out of Illinois. I'm going Tyler Bell, and much like Corey said with his on the older side, Tyler Bell is considered old from the prep ranks because he's going to be 19 at draft time, much in the way Kevin McGonigal
Nola
was
loves his
last year.
19-year-old prep players.
For some reason, yeah.
It's like if he's a prep player that's going to be a draft eligible sophomore, Nola will buy into him like super quickly.
Well, like Gunnar Henderson was old, right, for that class, and
what's that? Brett Beatty was too.
Mm-hmm. Walker Martin last year as well.
Which and that's what I think is so funny about it is they're old as a prep kid, but then they're a young draft eligible sophomore. So they go from being old in 2 years, they're young.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, I know. But he's a 6'1", 190-pound switch hitter. His aggregate ranking's about 87. So there's a possibility he could be a late day one, like with their second-round pick, if you wanted to get him off the board. He was someone I saw during the combine, and I just really liked him. Everything about him was just smooth, and especially I wrote about it on the that combine observations we did. There was a lot of rough fielding, third base, shortstop, just wild throws and everything, but he stood out because he was just everything about the fielding, the hands, throws was smooth, accurate, patient hitter, good eye. Said that he could develop into 20 home run power. The power is mostly from the right side right now. More contact oriented on the left side, but yeah, above average arm, could stick it short easily. I think they need to get some actual athletes that can stick at shortstop and hit. So I really like Tyler Bell.
Yeah, you've been talking about him from the pretty much draft combine day one, like since then. Any chance you can get. I have another prep shortstop that would probably require a higher ish there, but I went. He's 6'3", 185. He's actually Canadian, but he's playing in South Carolina right now, and he has a commitment to Florida. It's Brendan Lawson. He is ranked 132 on Baseball America, 116 Future Stars Series. Has a really good arm. They feel like, from what I've read, everyone seems confident he has like the arm to stick at shortstop. It's like as he continues to kind of fill out the frame and stuff like that, maybe you have to kick him to left or in the outfield, or maybe you have to just kick him to third or something like that. But he has such a it's a weird stance at first because like his hands start kind of high, but by the time like the pitch starts, everything like he's able to get his hands into like a ready position. It's like real quiet. Just it's a really great swing. There's a lot of torque in it, and it's just the ball just kind of explodes off his bat, and he seems like he's like one of those guys that like he's gonna be able to play like. You could probably leave him at shortstop like as long as possible, and before you make that switch, because he'll probably be passable. But he's going to hit. Like you just kind of get the feeling that he'll be able to hit at every level he goes to. And he's with the bat speed and everything like that. Like there could be a lot of power there, and he's just someone that like I'll admit my forte is still like on the pitching side of things, but from the hitters that I've kind of like dug into and everything like this year, he's just kind of just like jumped off. He kind of just jumped off the screen for me early, and like I said, he's right around like just on the north side of 100. So he's the guy you take probably still like early rounds and try to get him out of going to Florida and stuff like that. But a lot of tools there that got me excited for him.
You guys found some fun ones. I hadn't looked at as much at Bell prior to you talking about him previously, and I really have not seen much of Lawson at all. So I'll have to go and watch a little bit on him too. Those would be lovely choices, but now we're moving on to what I like to call pure vibes from my third guy. So this is my guy. The absolute boy right here. And like I said, it's based on a lot of scouting for this one, scouting the stat line only. I have not watched any footage because I'm operating only on vibes and fun, which is, I think good.
I think it sounds
fun. So his name is Grant Knipp, and he played for Campbell, and he also was a bit of a combine popper to me because he plays both ways. So he had a sort of abbreviated season this year as a senior. He only had 139 PAs, but he had 18 homers. He hit 402. His on base was 547, and his OPS was 1.576. And he also pitched 5 innings. And I think he got at least one save in there. But at the combine, he had a max batted ball EV of 111.6. And then in his bullpen session, his fastball achieved a 20.5 IVB and a 97.2 max. So the interesting thing is, number one, what is he? Is he a catcher, which is what he did, and relief and closer, and for Campbell for at least 5.2 innings and 136 at bats? Is he a first baseman? Is he a relief pitcher? And I think I think a team, it's based on a little what I was able to find on him. It sounds like teams will probably want to see him as a pitcher. But what I would like to see in the maximum fun outcome, closer/DH. Let the kid do it. Let's see if he can do it, right? Because you're closing, you figure the workload isn't that crazy compared to a starting pitcher. You can still DH. Plus, he's probably a day two guy. It's not like it's not going to be an expensive player to target. I think it's the kind of guy you give a shot. You let him smack dingers and then come in and slam the door. He's probably my most fun guy from this class, but only if you're going to let him do both things. Don't be a narc. Be cool. Be cool. Let him do both. Grant Nip, closer/DH 2024 and beyond.
And you're going to buy a jersey too if he gets drafted, right?
Pardon?
You're going to buy a jersey if he gets drafted, right?
Yeah, 100%. I will.
I
The auction jerseys, I will be the high bidder for those jerseys. But that's my guy. Just because he put up some really weird and interesting numbers at that combine, and the profile is just kind of interesting. He bashed the ball and he throws gas, and like the shape sounds like it's good, and apparently he's got at least another one or two other pitches that he threw at the combine that like looked like he across the plate. He's not just like throwing it to say, hey, I can do this too. So just seems like a fun guy. I don't know. I don't think he was ranked on BA, so I have no clue where you'd have to take him. But you just go get that Nip is what you do, and you put him and you let him do his thing.
I mean, yeah, if you do DH closer, you ain't got to worry about like a routine and building a pitch repertoire. It's be like, all right, go through a bullpen with heaters and sliders, then go hit dingers.
That's it. Just go get it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I want that for the Pirates. I want to see it. Close out, hit the dinger to take the lead in the World Series Game 7 and then shut the door.
Yeah, which kind of makes me sad. Which kind of makes me sad reminiscing about the reports on Jack Brannigan when they drafted him. Like, dude, he lit up their best tools chart. Like fastball, slider, power, everything. Double plus speed
out of nowhere.
I thought he was going to be a relief pitcher, truthfully, when they drafted him.
Me too.
Like a closer of the future.
I watched one of the videos of him pitching, and it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
like, I was like he must have been very adamant that like he just wanted to hit. So
yeah. Well, I guess my last one is gonna be kind of fall in line with what I feel the Pirates look for, as well as a regional and supers performer. Out of Florida State University, left-handed pitcher Carson Dorsey. I think when I first found out about him, he was ranked like in the 490s on BA. He's kind of moved up, which he wasn't on BA's update, which was kind of weird. But he's 292 on FSS, and Kylie McDaniel had 167th, which is, again, just kind of weird because it wasn't ranked on Pipeline. He fell off Baseball America. I don't know if that's just a clerical error. I'm going to assume it was. But he actually began in community college at Gulf Coast, was drafted in 2022 by the Rangers in the 17th round, 6'3", 165 pounds listed. So a little bit of a skinny guy. I found his JUCO numbers, which actually kind of reminded me of Parachi, because I remember when they drafted him and he had like some stupid strikeout numbers.
Yeah.
In 125.1 innings pitched, a 2.73 ERA with 201 strikeouts. He threw two summer seasons. The second one was only like 6 innings. I think it was like 6 walks and 7 Ks. But overall, 28 in the third innings, 1.58 ERA, 39 Ks, 9 walks. He was getting up to 94 with his fastball from the left side, and it's like that lower arm slot. The command, I think, is where they say can be a little off and on. He's got a curve and a slurvy slider. It was also mentioning that scouts think that with his loose and athletic motion, that he could actually potentially add velo. Potential for 2 double plus pitches. And, kind of going back to Harrington, he's a bit of a metric darling, is what they said on FSS. So, Future Star Series. So, the left-hand side, lower arm slot, metric darling, just feels like a Pirates pick. And I'd imagine, like I said, he kind of boosted himself a little bit with his regionals performance. So he might be a mid-late day 2 pick, depending.
Sounds like the kind of guy that's going to pop off for like Cleveland, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Houston. Yeah.
Huh. Sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds fun.
I loved watching.
Definitely sounds like that sounds like somebody that the Pirates would definitely target with their history of stuff like that. So that'd be fun. Yeah. All right. So for my last guy, I went the prep route again, but I went with another hitter.
What?
Yeah.
Does he also pitch?
So.
Is his name Cam?
No, it isn't. It is not. It is not. Look at me expanding my horizon and whatnot. But he's Baseball America. He's ranked 56. Future Star Series ranked 104. He's actually a hockey player too.
Well, draft him.
Yeah.
Done.
He's a guy that's kind of like flown off the draft charts. He's actually gotten some comps to Jackson Merrill and another guy that I know another guy that Nola kind of sold me on last year, Sammy Stafora. So he's gotten comps to him. Double plus speed, power's growing. Luke Dickerson. He just not 100% sold that he's going to stick at short, but they know he's going to be like a middle of the field like defender. So like they feel like if he's not going to play short, he can go out in center field or like second base, something like that. But he's another guy that probably going to get as long of a run at shortstop as possible. Speed, athletic, just I kind of looking at the draft. I want the Pirates to I don't want them to add a power bat early because, like the obvious concerns with the tactic. I feel like there's a lot of first base type profiles in the middle rounds and stuff like that you could probably get that gives you good value. But outside of that, I want them to get some athletes and stuff like that into the system. So guys that like a Jackson Merrill, you put him in there in shortstop, and then he's your starting center fielder going into the season and all that, just because he's that athletic and he's that good. I want some hitters that you can move around. Just you see it with all the good teams. They don't draft them second basemen and stuff like that. They draft them the athletes, the guy, because if you're a shortstop in high school, you're the best player, you're the most athletic guy. They're the ones who can. Then those are the guys that can actually move around the field and contribute wherever and stuff like that. So he's a guy that you would probably definitely, from everything that I've kind of read and like some of the mock drafts I've looked, you're probably definitely going to have to grab him at 37. I saw one at like late June, I think, that had him actually sneak into the first round. But everything as of late has kind of been comp round kind of stuff. So he's a guy that maybe kind of healing himself just out of the Pirates range. But if he does slip to 37, I just think he's like the perfect kind of athlete that I want in the system now, kind of. So,
yeah, I 100% agree with your thought there on getting premium athletes into the system in general, and again, like you said, with the shortstop in high school, that is the guy. Not everyone, a large percentage of major leaguers right now played shortstop at some point, probably in there.
Yeah.
So I would say any infielder you draft, unless it's a first baseman, just announce him as a shortstop. Any outfielder you draft, just call him a center fielder, and then we'll figure out where they're going to go. Don't worry, don't call him anything else. Say this draft shortstop. Boom, figure it out later.
Mitch Jeb, shortstop.
Yes, Mitch Jeb, shortstop. There it is.
I mean, he has been playing shortstop. Hasn't been great shortstop, but he's been playing shortstop.
Yeah,
That's all that matters. Just get him there.
Exactly. So, last thing we were going to do on it, we went through like our 3 guys that we really wanted to go to. Now, rapid fire. We're each going to like shout out 3 names. Don't have to go in a lot of detail. It's just 3 names, maybe like a quick half sentence about it if you want to do that.
so we're gonna do it like 1, 2, 3, go. Just gonna shout them.
Sure.
You just want me to do all 3 real fast, or do you want to go one at a time? Okay.
Just do all 3 real quick.
Okay. So my first one is this may be unsurprising, but it is another mid-rounds hitter, Peyton Carr out of High Point. He had kind of a small sample size this season due to injury. So I just kind of wrote him down as an infielder. I think he's probably a corner infielder, first or third, but I'll call him a shortstop because I just said that. But he had a pretty good approach. The quality of contact looked pretty good from everything I could find. He looks pretty fun. Just one to keep an eye on. I saw him get some heat somewhere, like out of nowhere after I had looked him up. So could be a fun one. Then I got 2 pitchers here. One, Ryan Forcucci out of UC San Diego, missed most of the year with Tommy John, but I think he might have ended up being a first rounder had he pitched all season. So he would be one to maybe jump on. Fairly early if you are confident in like the Barco style player who could pop like that, but he's got a big time fastball, like double plus from what I've seen. So love that guy. And then I got to get an Oregon State player in. Aiden May, Oregon State college pitcher. Very good slider, big-time spin guy, throws 2 fastballs. But again, I think he's ranked around 80 on most lists. So he'd be another fairly early guy. But Aiden May, Ryan Forcucci, and Peyton Carr are my 3 other names.
All right. Well, I want to go ahead and start off with everyone's favorite of first base profile. Out of Texas Tech, Gavin Cash. Although his freshman year he was at Texas, transferred to Texas Tech for sophomore or junior year, and he actually just entered the portal and committed to Texas A&M. So he's hitting all the Texas schools. Go real quick. Diving back to the whole combine thing, it was funny with all the wild throws. I was like, wait, who the hell is this first baseman that's scooping everything? It was Gavin Cash, and they talked about him because he actually was he took part in the outfield throws, and he was throwing some heaters, and they said that I don't know where they grabbed it from, but he was like a +7 DRS, like led all first basemen in college or something like that. So they're saying he's athletic enough, he could play the outfield, but he'd be one of those guys you're buying his sophomore year. He took a little step back junior year, but he mashed his sophomore year. So I think he'd be a great first base get in the middle later rounds. Another combine popper, Bryce Bocher. Corey went Oregon State. This kid's out of Oregon. The Duck. We talked about him again. The combine observation just seemed like a well-rounded, great athlete and kid. So was a 2-sport athlete at Oregon. Once he's focusing on baseball, I'd like to see.
Linebacker? He was a football player, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a rocket, and every throw was accurate as hell.
Yeah.
And then I'm cheating on my last one. Presuming they don't go with Tibbs, I think they should still go for a Florida State outfielder. And between Marco Dingus, who actually DH'd a lot, or Jaime Ferrer. Dingus is probably, again, another potential first base profile. A lot of pop. It's interesting because he's only ranked on one list, and I don't know if that's due to confusion that he's technically born 4 days after the cutoff date, but he played 2 years at JUCO before going to Florida, so technically it's his 3rd year, so he's eligible. And then Jaime, probably more likely to stay in the outfield corner spot, some pop, some speed. I think they should get one of those 2. later in rounds.
Yeah. So my 3, Corey talked about Aiden Harris, another prep guy that I really like power-wise, combine guy, Miles Bailey. Lots of power. Looked like he was a little more athletic than kind of he let on. Was doing work like with Gary Sheffield too. So just a lot of power. You need to get some power and athletic people in the system. So he'd be a nice little power bat. Next guy, Ryan Stafford, catcher out of Cal Poly. I think it's about time they need to start kind of maybe replenishing with some actual catching prospects in the system. Not sure about
Cal Poly catcher.
Yeah. Elite bat ball, good. Was good in the at the Cape Cod League. Good defender. Probably like a middle round guy kind of thing on there. And then the last guy, we talked about him before, like briefly when we were talking about like the mock drafts, but Bryce Message, what is it? His uncle's the bullpen coach for the Pirates. Good fastball up in the zone, a couple breaking balls, 3/4 arm slot. There's a lot of smoke to him in a couple mock drafts, and the more I kind of watched and read into him, like I've started to buy in a lot to it. They're going to go the prep pitching route. Wouldn't mind him as the guy. So, that's my 3.
I think I saw him mock to the Pirates in somebody's, right? Yeah.
Like 2 Baseball Americas back-to-back had him, and then one of Pipelines had him as well after that as well. So,
yeah, that would make a ton of sense, actually.
A lot of sense. Yeah.
So those are my 3. And
I'm all about Cal Poly catchers only because Luke Schrader was a Cal Poly commit before the Pirates signed him.
Look at that. Cool.
Brian Wu, Cal Poly.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, look at me. All right, so that's the episode for it. Hope everyone enjoyed. Hope everyone stuck around for it. We knew this one was going to drag a little late. We were talking about it, and we still kind of expected it. I think we still kind of expected to go even longer than this.
Yeah, technically short. We said like 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
I mean, we could have.
Oh yeah.
Could have. Yeah.
Yeah. No. As soon as Nola said he's going to cheat a little bit, I was like, no. You know what? If you're going to cheat, I have about like 10 more names.
Don't make me pull up my list.
I mean, I talked about 18 pitchers in that article the other day, and I got another 10 that I'm writing about tomorrow. So, or 10 hitters I'm writing about tomorrow.
And you know what? They won't pick a single one.
Probably not. That's why I wrote about 18 of them, and that's why I was very I'm hoping if they just give me one.
They're gonna drive Ryan Waldschmidt and then Griff O'Farrell.
I mean, I have plenty like NS9 Discord, and I'm in our group chat and on Twitter somewhere. I have absolutely said that's very much a Pirates pick because he's Mitch Jeb that can play shortstop.
They actually said he's somewhat similar. I would like it more just because he's a Louisiana boy. They in that case, just take Kyle DeBarge.
I like DeBarge.
He hit 20 home runs, but they said it's more so probably because of the park and everything. But he's a raging Cajun, so just take him instead.
UVA, take the UVA guy.
No.
All right. But that's gonna be the episode. I guess we'll go around real quick, give out your socials and everything like that. Anything that you're working on there. I saw Nola kind of started a draft of something the other day, and I don't know about the endings things. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if I didn't know if
do something with it.
I hadn't really decided. I didn't know if that was something I just wanted to get it down on paper to just look at it, or to actually go somewhere with it. But yeah, I had started looking at total innings pitched this season versus pitchers' previous highs. And I think I even got down like 15 total pitchers that are on track to blow past previous inning totals. But I'll see if that article goes anywhere.
You did something with it last year. You did something like that last year too.
Yeah.
So, and I think it did. Yeah. Good, so.
Yeah. So I might do something.
Yeah. Where can they find you on social media?
At Nola Jeffy, NOLAJEFFY. Nola Knowledge. Don't leave the boilerplate guard on your smoker open when you're smoking fish.
That's hilarious.
I found out the hard way for my very first smoke session.
Somebody's got to find out.
Yeah.
You just saved somebody the hassle.
Yeah, I did. Hopefully I saved someone else that gets to smoke.
That's why it's Nola knowledge. He's his own safe.
That's it. Dropping it.
Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Corey. How about you? Where can you find you on social media? Anything you working on?
Yeah. So at Corey Schrader on Twitter, or X, whatever we want to call it now. So currently, just JV and I are doing the trade pieces for Steel City Pirates. We got one coming out tomorrow morning, looking at some outfield options that we think could be on the market or could be available, and who we may deal for those. So come yell at me because you don't like the players that I think they should target. And then I am also going to be trying to get out here, hopefully tomorrow, maybe this weekend. I got a little more work to do on it, but the first half look at the NL Central, the Know Your Enemies piece, where I just kind of take a look at the state of who's been hot and sometimes not. I don't like to focus on who's been bad unless it's like someone that's epically been bad. It's more interesting to me to know who's playing well, I think. So I try to focus on that unless it's like shocking me how bad somebody's been. And then I like to look at the minor leagues, but I try not to go too crazy for that piece and just hit on like 3 to 5 max. I may do a couple more on this one. We'll see. Talk about how much I love the Brewers farm system.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Enough. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at @double_Murphy88. Subscribe to Bucs On Deck Substack. We are just a few days away from our 1-year anniversary of the site. Actually, one of our podcast episodes that we should be doing will drop the day of the anniversary of it. So subscribe there. We have a lot of draft stuff going on. I got a piece on the futures game tomorrow or today, whenever you're listening to the podcast, some players to watch and stuff like that. I'm going to kick back, focusing on the draft the rest of the weekend. I think we're doing some sort of group roundtable-ish thing for Sunday, the day of the draft. And then obviously the whole week, I'll be recapping each day on the site. So subscribe, take a look. And hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Have a good one, and we'll see you. I guess you'll see me and Nola on Sunday, because I think the plan is still to do the live show and whatnot. So we will see you guys then.
Deuces.